Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the podcast. Today, I was given the wonderful experience to be able to explore what House of Colour do for their clients. We're going to be talking to Lindsay West today, and she is a colour consultant, and she does like fashion bits and bobs, and it was a really interesting experience for me to explore, and we got onto marketing a little bit later on as well. So thank you so much to Lindsay if you're listening back, and thank you so much to you if you're coming back and listening once again. I hope you enjoyed this episode, take some value from it, and I'll see you very, very soon.
I'm Lindsay West. I'm a personal stylist and image consultant. And just to explain what that means, I really just help people to become the very best version of themselves so that they can create the best first impression that they can by dressing authentically and just allowing their clothes to speak before they do.
Welcome, Lindsay. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for your time. And I mean, I think the initial question for me is, like, how do you get into this industry? Like, is it just something that you've wanted to do forever? Is it something that you sort of stumbled upon? Because everyone's journey into business is very different in that respect. So, I mean, how did you kind of get started into, learning about, how different colours affect people or what they wear and the kind of fashion aspect of it?
Well, my background's in education. So I was a teacher for 32 years. And the last 5 of those, I was a head teacher of an infant school in Wiltshire. I think it was in my very early 40s. My girls were about 7 or 8 years old. So I was a teacher, I was a mum, I was a wife, but I'd lost myself. I think I was bottom of the priority pile and I'd become invisible. Not only invisible at home, but invisible at work as well. So nobody took me seriously, nobody valued me. And I was really frustrated because I knew how capable I was, but was just being ignored. Interestingly, just at that time, we had a Christmas fair at school and a House of Colour consultant came to the fair, had a stand there. And when she walked in the room, she just looked absolutely amazing. She was glowing. And I just thought, whatever she's got, I want some of that. I want to look like her when I'm her age. She's 25 years older than me, but just was stunning. So when things settled down at the fair, I went over and had a chat with her and took her contact details. And as my Christmas present that year, I asked for a colour analysis from my mum and husband. And that's really where it started. I just fell in love with this idea of being able to wear colours that just made me look younger, slimmer, and the transformation was amazing. What happened was that the compliments started coming straight away as soon as I started wearing these colours, which were for me were warm, bright, and splashy. The parents picking up the children from the classroom door were just saying, "You look so well. Have you lost weight? Have you had your hair cut?" They couldn't quite work out what it was, but were just complimenting me. And of course, when you get compliments, your confidence soars, doesn't it? And from that point, I just started being noticed and my career took off. So I was recognised for my expertise. I was offered promotions. I was appointed as a champion for the southwest of England in one of my subject specialisms. And it was amazing. Yeah, went through to a deputy headship and then to a headship very quickly from there.
Interesting. I mean, for me, this is a completely no idea world for me, which is great because I get to explore it. I mean, just in a really, really basic way, like, what colours mean what and how does it work? Like, how does you wearing blue today, no one will see that, but wearing blue today, change how you are attracted, how you feel? Like, what, like, how does it work? I don't get it. Like, what is it about your colours that make you either like look or feel? Is it like a psychological thing, like yourself? As in, like, you'll feel more confident within yourself because the colours connect with you more, or like what? Like, how does that process kind of work?
So we use a colour wheel, and the colour wheel that we use was created by the Bauhaus School of Art back in the
Okay.
early 1900s by a man called Johannes Ittens. And he was fascinated by the way artists use colour and how they painted in certain palettes. So if
Right.
you think of Constable's paintings, he always painted in rich, earthy colours, didn't he? Very natural, warm, earthy colours. They weren't. There wasn't a lot of sort of contrasting, vivid colours. At that time in the Bauhaus school, you had other artists who were experimenting with much more abstract art and using vivid colours, primary colours, and lots of black and white. So the way this works is that the colour wheel represents all the colours in the world. At the centre of the wheel is red. So theoretically, everyone can wear red, true red. All the other colours have either a blue based or a yellow based tone to them.
Okay.
They're more yellow or blue. And my job is, as a colour analyst, is to really look deep at your skin tone. And it's the fat cells deep beneath your skin that determine whether you have blue based or yellow based skin tones.
And then what? You
This
go the opposite, or what? Then what do you do? So let's say I have a yellow base, right? So then what? I'm gonna wear more
so then
blue.
you sit in one half of the wheel. So you
Right.
would be either an autumn or spring on the colour wheel, and you would need to wear warm yellow based colours. That's just the first part. So we then look more closely at whether you need warm, rich, deep, earthy colours, or whether you need bright, splashy, warm colours. And those are what I need. So if I wear the yellow-based colours that are earthy and rich, they tend to look a little bit dull. They can make me look tired. When I put the bright colours on, then I just light up. I just look my very, very best. I glow, and I just look wide awake really, really well. And some of them can seriously make me look 10 years younger and 10 pounds slimmer, which is amazing when I wear the right colours.
Okay. I mean, that's really interesting for me because there's a lot of crossover with what we do when we look at, in graphic design perhaps, but also in filmmaking, and when we mix colors of light and etc. We want opposite sides of the color wheel, right? So different color wheel, but the more standard color wheel. For example, the really really common one is having orange and blue because they contrast really really well, and they have, it's known in filmmaking, it's known as color contrast, right? So whenever we try and light a scene, we're trying to develop a first level of light contrast, so the lights and the darks, but then also color contrast. So it would be, I'll use the blue and in the orange example. In most cases your skin tone will be closer to orange than it will be to blue. So we then will add in the shadows a little bit more blue in that respect. So it's very similar, and that's why I asked where does those colors come from and how do they act together, because I imagine there would be somewhere close to a similarity in regards to what we use in filmmaking as well when we look to light a scene. But I mean, for me, it's really interesting to hear because I don't, as I say, I have no idea. I mean, is it mostly like your target audience? Is it mostly females? Is it because maybe I'm jumping to a conclusion here, but I imagine it's mostly females who are going to care more, right? I don't know.
We do, yes, we do have more female clients than male clients, but some of my fellow consultants actually have more male clients. So I think it's
Okay, that's interesting.
just who you attract. I don't work in the corporate world, but those ladies who do, I've got a colleague up in Reading, and nearly all her clients are males. She does lots and lots of networking, and it's the men who want to come, and that they're really looking at their brand and their image, and all of that. And color analysis is a key part of that. If they need a visual.
No, of course. I think, especially for a visual brand, that makes a lot of sense, right? Like because for example, what a lot I do, I'm very visual in the spectrum. I'm the face of the brand. and etc. So in that respect, I have to at least think about it when I wake up every day. In that respect, I don't think it's something which you should necessarily really overanalyze unless you're a fashion person and in the fashion industry. Then maybe you should look at it more. But I think for me, it's one of those things which has kind of been I mean, how old is your industry? Like, you can't be. I imagine it's probably quite young in the respect to.
It's over 30 years old.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, for me, because I think a lot of people, especially nowadays, I mean, especially guys, I mean, I think they're more open to the concept of, like, looking after themselves, grooming themselves, keeping themselves looking well, etc. as well. And that's all goes in line with the fashion aspect, but also then obviously the color aspect as well, in that respect as well. So I mean, I think is there over misconceptions on your industry? Like, yeah, I mean, I guess one of the over misconceptions would be, oh, it's all for girls, right? But is there others? Like, is there other misconceptions that you found?
Well, let me just give you an example. So I had a 21-year-old come last week for a colour analysis. It was her 21st birthday. She came with her boyfriend, but it was just her who was having the analysis. Part of the class is makeup. So once we've found your perfect colours and put you into a season on the colour wheel, I then find the perfect makeup for your skin tone, and that's foundation, blusher and lipsticks. Now, she is a girl who never wears makeup, but I talked to her about the importance of knowing how to put makeup on, and how that, as she leaves university and starts to apply for jobs, she might just need to start wearing a little bit, so that she's taken seriously. I wouldn't want her to lose her natural look, but turning up for an interview with no makeup can create the wrong first impression that you.
I was just saying, is that a big no for the female side of the, because again, it's like nothing that I would know as a guy, because we just we kind of just roll out of bed and just like, right, I'm wearing something that looks pretty good, okay, cool, fantastic. We might make sure our beard's straight or our hair's like got product in it, but outside that's kind of getting ready for most guys.
There's some really interesting research papers by American universities about this, who looked at all women, it was actually, who and they took a series of photos from no makeup to very made up, sort of five photos, and then asked people to rate these ladies on attractiveness, trustworthiness, authenticity. And interestingly, the more makeup they wore, the more attractive the score went up. But once they put too much makeup on, so quite a, going out to a nightclub look, they lost their trustworthiness. So really, really interesting. So if
it's a balance, like anything then.
Yeah, the research shows that you will be trusted more as long as you don't overdo it. But yeah, so my point about these two was that she never wore makeup. I was giving her lipstick on little lipstick spatulas to put on, and she just didn't have a clue. And yet her boyfriend sitting there was talking to me about BB creams and foundation, and he has worn or currently wears foundation to cover up blemishes, spots, and knew far more about it than she did. So that was quite an eye-opener for me, actually.
Yeah, I mean, that's really interesting, because, as I say, I think the misconception is, like, as I say, it's not something that guys would necessarily feel socially okay with wearing, right? I think that's the question there, isn't it? It's the social anxiety, or the social pressure, or the social, oh, you're not a man because you wear makeup thing, even though little did most people know, if you've ever been on telly or you've ever been an actor, they all wear makeup. All of them. Every single one. If you've ever been on a level of set above, like TV or any episode of drama or any film, every single actor is wearing a level of makeup. A level, right? You probably won't be able to see it because it's designed to, as you say, hide blemishes, just make the lighting a little bit softer on their skin, etc., etc., etc. So I mean, I think for me that's the interesting thing, and I think sometimes people jump to conclusions, and maybe I don't want to assume or jump to any conclusions myself, but I think it's partly to do with the fact of like, oh, you must be gay if you wear makeup, right? I think that for a long time that was the thing, that was what happened, right? That was when people wore makeup, right? I think now it's more of actually I want to have a certain persona, or I want to come across a specific way, or I want to come across in my specific circles, or my specific social circles, or professional circles, to be able to, hide those blemishes and be able to come across more confident as well. Because, for example, there's been a lot of people I talk to that have said, oh, I don't like wearing suits, I don't like suited meetings. And personally, for me, I like wearing shirts and suits and etc. That kind of style. But it's more of I feel more confident when I'm wearing it, more than necessarily, oh, I have to wear it, because I don't agree with you have to wear something. There's certain contexts where it's kind of expected, but also you shouldn't have to wear anything. And I think for me, as I say, for those people who maybe are starting out in their career, I mean, what would you suggest that people do in respect to, like, should they care as much about what they wear? Should they put makeup on? Like, what because it can become quite quickly very superficial, right? I think, right, and that would be my concern. Like, unless it's going to help your confidence, that's a different conversation, right? But if it's just, I'm wearing this because then I'm perceived to be XYZ. And, a lot of what we talk about in sales and marketing is all perception, of course, but also where's the line, would you say? Where's the line where it's actually, I'm doing this because of the perception, not because I want to do it, and not because I feel more comfortable doing it.
No, so what's absolutely key here is that you dress as your authentic self. And so this leads me nicely actually onto the other service that I provide, which is style, personal development. And this is when we look at who you really are on the inside and make sure we're dressing that person on the outside. So to give an example, we have 5 male clothing personalities. Let's just take men as an example: dramatic, classic, natural, gaman, and romantic. If you think of these are all based on Carl Jung's archetypes. Carl Jung researched folk stories, myths, legends, and found that in all stories there was commonality of these characters. There's always a baddie. There's somebody who likes to be in authority. So you've got your baddie, you've got your king or queen or your chief inspector. You've got your natural, who is an explorer and a rescuer. The gaman would be your funny little sidekick who comes in and makes everyone laugh. And there's always somebody who just lightens the mood in stories. And then your romantic, even as a man, who is the caregiver and likes looking after people. So one of the things we do is just suggest that if I was to cast you in a pantomime, who would you be? Who would you love to be? Who feels like you out of those characters?
Yeah. So, I'll use me as an example. It would be, I
Yeah.
probably, when you say caring, I mean, I would hope anyway, quite caring for my friends, quite caring for my family, quite caring for my team. So I don't know what role that would be necessarily, but that would be probably the closest one that resonated with me in that respect when you were going down them. So let's use that as an example.
Yeah. Okay. So that gives me some information. So a gaman, for example, so the funny sidekick, those would be your TV presenters. So Graham Norton, Anton Deck, Dermot O'Leary, they have incredible energy, don't they, and charisma. You can imagine that they never sit still. They're probably bordering ADHD. To us, they always seem really positive and full of life. They also can dress in quite a quirky way. They have their own style. They can get away with small patterns. Think of Graham Norton and he does wear some quite outrageous things, but all within his style. They express who he is. And that's really what we're getting down to. So within the personal style development course, we do a yang and yin quiz or questionnaire. And that's to really unpick how you would respond to different things. So it's things like how you would react. So if somebody annoys you, do you just tell them straight away? Do you let it, do you get it out there? Or do you go away and quietly sulk? Are you a hoarder or a chucker outer? Are you a night owl or a lark? And by finding all of these things out, that helps me to really dig down and find out who you are. And what I found, particularly with all the networking we've been doing during COVID, how men turn up on Zooms is really interesting. Um, so a lot of them were in just sort of grey, baggy t-shirts with no shape during lockdown, like we all were. Nobody could see below a waist, but when they're trying to sell you insurance or health insurance or I'm trying to think now, write a will for you, you just can't take them seriously. And just by making a little bit of effort, I think, the credibility goes a long way to that know, like, trust mentality of doing business with somebody.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of, I touched on this a little bit earlier, but it's all about perception, right? And that's why I think, I mean, my next question was going to be around online networking and how you found it and how, did you network beforehand? But I think a lot of it is like sometimes we got so comfortable, especially during lockdown. For me, I kind of went into my own hole during the first lockdown and didn't do anything, didn't start. I've literally in the last like maybe 3 to 4 months only really started networking again, and now I'm back leaning into it again, because from my perspective it is one of the best things to do as a add-on to your marketing. It's not a replacement to marketing, I would say. It's an add-on. It's a thing, because the thing is with networking is that's the thing that allows you to build the relationships that then allows you to get referrals. Now the problem is with referrals, because we talk about this a lot, what's the difference between marketing and referrals? Marketing can be a system that will consistently get you work on a religious basis. Referrals are random. Now, I don't really want to run my business on the I'm hopefully going to get a referral from Lindsay today, and then I'm going to have work to do. Fantastic. That's not, you can't really run a business like that because there's no certainty there. The referral work that you get or you don't get is all about, that's an extra piece of work. Fantastic. It's not your bread and butter, I need this to work. And that's what some people, and I remember I was talking about it in networking as well, you should never start networking when you need the work. Because you need time to build the relationships, you need time to let people know what you do and how you do it. But also it's not your time to pitch, it's not your time to sell, it's your time to inform people on what you do and explain enough so they understand what you do, but then also to step back and listen to them and listen to what they have to say, listen to what they do, and seeing how you can help them. And I'll throw back to you in a minute, Lindsay, but I think for me, when I changed my approach in networking, and we were like, okay, well, this is what I do, this is why we do it, and then left it at that, and then started listening to other people and started saying, well, how can we help you? How can we support you in what you're trying to do, etc. Then I actually ended up getting more meaningful connections and actually more work from networking and actually more referrals from networking, because there's less pressure there on, oh my God, Lindsay has to give me a referral today, or I'm never going to talk to Lindsay again because she hasn't given me a referral. I mean, how have you found networking in general, and then the sort of transition to online networking?
Yes, just I totally agree with everything really that you've said. When you're busy, you have less time for networking, and when there's nothing going on, that's when you have more time to network. But absolutely, if you go in with that desperation of I need to find some clients, you're going to scare them all off. I have made that mistake with a new network group where I went in and tried to sell pretty much straight on before that relationship had been established, and yeah, it was very damaging. and I've learnt from it, and I've had to back right away. And I think having follow-up one-to-ones either on Zoom or having a coffee, meeting someone for a coffee is definitely the way forward, because there's nearly always something that somebody can help you with. And it's amazing what can come out of those conversations, even if it's just somebody else that they know. So it does take work. I tried a weekly network group during lockdown. The good thing about it was that I got the opportunity to speak, so that was good practice. It was a mixed audience, so probably slightly more men than women in this particular group, which I wasn't used to because I do quite a lot of women only networking. So I had to really think about how I was going to appeal and keep the men engaged, and not just talk about makeup and clothing and dresses and things. But I think there's also a point where you have to look back, reflect, and think, is this working for me, and is it worth my time every week, those 2 hours a week? What am I getting out of it? If it's just sort of friendship and companionship, and you need that for your well-being, then that's fine. But ultimately, hopefully, we'll all get so busy that we have to be accountable for every minute of our time, and think about what's really going to produce the results.
Yeah, and I think it depends. I mean, networking, in my opinion, is one of those things where you get out what you put in, right? If you go out of your way to build those one-to-ones, build those relationships, and really build on those, and see how you can add value to that person, but not in a sales pitchy way as well. So a lot of what we do is just suggest, this is how we could help you if that conversation is at that time is valuable, right? But also, what are your hurdles? Understanding what their pain points are, what kind of referrals are they looking for, what kind of clients or people do they need connections with that you may have in your network, and etc. Because I think, but it's also something that is underrated, which is the visibility aspect of networking as well. Because a lot of the time we talk about in marketing about being visible, right? Being really, really visible, and letting people know what you're doing. And especially if you're a content creator or someone who's a very visual business, it's very important for you to be visual everywhere, because what's going to happen is, once you're visual at a networking group, you'll get known within that networking group as the go-to person for XYZ, my case video strategy, etc. Then people will sort of connect with you. They'll come to you because you'll get known for your trade. You'll get known for what you do, in the same way Lindsay will get known for what she does, right? So what will end up happening is you'll kind of have people start flocking to you, or you'll get random out of the blue messages or etc., because you've already established yourself as the expert. But the only way you're going to establish yourself as the expert is by consistently showing up in marketing, but also consistently showing up in a handful of groups. Now, it depends on the business. It depends on whether you're really strategizing how you're doing your networking, and whether you're really putting a lot of effort and energy into it. I mean, something that I've been talking about lately with a lot of my guys and my coach actually as well, is I'm actually exhausted because of how much networking I'm doing and how much connection building I'm doing. But I know, and looking after the clients we have and keeping stuff moving and etc. But I understand that I know that that's what I'm good at. That's what my role is in the company at the moment. That is how we bring in work. That's how we get the projects in, and that's what happens. That's what's needed to happen, is build that rapport with those people, build that trust, build that build that know, depending on where in that marketing stage they are. But then also create content, because by creating content, it's your backbone. So this podcast is a very key example of that. Creating videos, and it's not you need to hire Brunton Media to do it. No, you can do it on your phone. There's a lot you can do on your phone. It's just talk about what you do and how you do it.
So do you feel that your visibility is increasing, and that there is some momentum building and doors are opening?
Absolutely, definitely. I mean, it's one of those things where at the start, for example, I'll give you an example. When we start social media with anyone, it's very slow there's no results, and there's tipping point eventually, normally around 6 months or so, maybe 5 months, maybe 4 months, where suddenly there's a huge amount of influx in viewership, connection, so on. But it's a steady grind up to that point, and then after that point, it's a continued steady grind after that point. But then there's big fluctuations, and because we don't check those, like even if it's 1% a day, we still don't look back until after 6 months. And something that my coach said to me a couple of days ago was, look at what you did a year ago. Look where you were a year ago, right? Or look where you were 18 months ago. And then you realize and you pinch yourself and you go, actually, I've actually moved mountains, or you've done huge amounts of movement and growth in the company. And if you haven't, don't beat yourself up about it. It's like, okay, well, ask yourself why. Why haven't you? Right? So what, are you putting your energy into the wrong things? Like arguably, like some people would say, oh, networking is a waste of time because you don't get any work. Okay, but why don't you get any work? Is it because you're at the wrong group? Is it because you're not putting yourself out there more? Is it because you haven't thought about your 1 minute enough, perhaps? Is it you aren't building those one-to-one connections outside of it? Is it because you're not leaning into what the networking groups have to offer? Because all of them offer a lot more than just the networking aspect of it. As I say, you need to put in a lot to get out a lot. It's like anything. You wouldn't expect to magically become fitter by going to the gym once, right? If you want to gain strength and you want to gain fitness, you walk every day, you run every day, you work out every day, you work out consistently. It doesn't have to be every day. I use every day as an easy example. But it's the same with networking. Because yes, at the start, you'll be very, I don't know what I'm going to say because I don't know what my business is. But what will happen is, especially if you look back at what you said and how you said it, you'll be like, okay, so then I can tweak this. Then I can say that. And then you'll slowly build your confidence in networking meetings as well. I found it when I go into new networking meetings, I'm a bit reserved because I'm not comfortable in that networking meeting yet. But what I do is I push myself through that phase, especially when I'm joining a new networking meeting, where then I know a percentage of the group, I know the majority of the group, and I get to know a lot of the group. And then at the end, when I become a member, and etc., I then become more and more confident in that group, and then I can leverage that group's network. Because what you're actually doing is, what you need to think about it is, it's not just the people in the room that you need to talk to, it's the people who they know as well. Because in most cases, people will refer people who they trust. That's it. That's simple business. So that's the power of networking. Again, it's what you put in, it's how you utilize it, and it's how you do it. And it's about being consistent. The consistency, I think, is the most important part of networking. And that's why I say to a lot of people, even when you're really busy with work, yes, it might be really challenging to justify the time and book all the time in to do the one-to-ones and do everything else, as well as run the business, as well as keep everything running. But if you want to gain more work in the future from networking, you have to be doing that consistency. You have to have that level of consistency, in my opinion, to be able to do it. Because I've tried both, where you dip in and out and it doesn't work. Dipping in and out doesn't work. The only thing that, in my opinion, works, and from my experience works, is consistently showing up and being visible. And, especially if you're the face of the brand, then you should be the one being very, very visible. Whether that's through marketing, as in through content, or that's literally talking to people and just having a conversation. Because when we open up and when we talk about what we do, that's our chance to tell the world what we do and why we do it.
Yeah. No, so true. I found a book really helpful called The Jelly Effect by Andy Bounds. Have you read that one?
I haven't, but I have many books that I need to read, because every single, like, 1,000 people say, you should read this book, you should read this book, you should read this book. And I just never get around to reading books. It's very annoying.
It's brilliant. It's an easy read. It's in sections, and it really talks you through how to start networking and what to do in a meeting. And it's really about, if you fling jelly at somebody, it's just going to fall off. How do you get the jelly to stick? How do you get people to remember what you've said and not just glaze over and switch off when you do your pitch or whatever? Or if you're face to face, glaze over and look at somebody else in the room because you're boring them. So it's really, really helpful book. I'd thoroughly recommend it.
Definitely. And I think the main caveat there is learning, right? Like learning from yourself, learning from a book, learning from the experiences you have, right? And I think the one misconception about 1 minute is it's a time for you to pitch. No, it's a time for you to give a hint at what you do. It's a time to give an idea. And what I do whenever I try is I try and clear up the misconceptions that people may have about the industry. So, the two misconceptions that I see a lot are video is extremely expensive and it's terrifying to be on video. Both can be true, but they also cannot be true. So it depends on what you're doing and how you're doing it, of course, but video doesn't have to be expensive, and you don't have to be terrified about the idea of doing it. It depends on the idea of like being terrified about and doing it. It's very specifically around who you're working with. And that's what I'm saying. Building a good relationship with a videographer or with a content creator or with a video strategist or etc. is going to allow you to feel confident in your content and allow you to come across really well. Because if you don't feel confident with that person, then there's no chance you're going to feel confident on camera. So that's why we put a lot of time and effort into building good rapport with our clients first and helping them warm up before we put a camera in front of their face and say talk. And we never just say talk, by the way, as well. That's one of the misconceptions that I dislike about videographers sometimes. They just set up and they go, right, Lindsay, there you go. I'll be back in half an hour. Have fun. And it's like the client's just stood there going, what? It's like, what? Hold on. Wait, what? So normally what we try to do specifically is we try to guide the client through what they're going to talk about, how they're going to talk about it, why they're going to talk about it. So, because it will remove the bit. Because everyone, when they don't know what they're going to say, they're just going to, your brain just fills it with something, which is, in that respect. I mean, have you found that, how is your marketing sort of affected? I mean, do you do lots of marketing? Do you do lots of networking? Like, how have you found you get most of your work? Like, where does it come from? Is it sporadic referrals? Is it marketing? Is it a mix of both? How do you get your work? Have you found?
It's a mixture of people finding me on our central website. That's a key thing. So I can't see the analytics of that because it's all part of House of Colour, but it's effective. It's working. Yes, referrals. So friends of friends have come. I actually bought a client database from a consultant in the New Forest who had retired. So that's given me some work as well. But again, I've had to really build the relationships there because they didn't know me at all, and I couldn't make the assumption that they were going to know and trust me straight away and just move their business to me at all. So I think one thing that's really helped is thinking about my expertise and trying to share that. So rather than just saying what my title is, just thinking and bullet pointing a list of all the things that I know I'm an expert in. And that can be as simple as finding you the perfect lipstick, or helping you to reduce your wardrobe by a third and chuck out all the things that you haven't worn for 2 years. But also behind that is the benefit to the customer. So yes, I'm an expert in this, but for you, this is what you're going to get out of it. Then you're giving them something really valuable. And it kind of gets right away from you and your personality down to this is what you need.
Yeah.
And this is how I can help you.
Yeah, and a lot of what we talk about in marketing is about the customer, the end consumer, the client, etc. It's not about you, right? And I was at a networking meeting yesterday and we were talking about websites, and one of the main takeaways from that I had was the website should talk to your ideal consumer. It should talk to your customer. It shouldn't be, there should be a part of it that's like, hey, I'm Colin, this is what I do, this is why I do it. Yes, but the majority shouldn't be, hey, this is Colin, egotistical kind of, look at me, I'm amazing, yada, yada, yada. That shouldn't be the case. In most cases, it's because you need to talk to your ideal customer about how you can help them, how you can talk to their pain points, how you can showcase what you do is going to help them get towards their objective, get towards their goal, get towards etc. And there's sometimes a misconception, especially in marketing, when you bring us to doing marketing or etc., where it's, oh, we're going to make you more money. We can, but we don't directly make you more money. We may give you more visibility and more awareness, but then it's up to you whether you actually turn that awareness and visibility into more clients. We can't give you more clients. It's impossible. And if anyone says that they can, they're trying to sell you something. That's why they're saying that. What we can do, and I'm very, very transparent whenever we take on a new client, I'm saying, look, this is what we can do for you. This is what we cannot do for you. I cannot guarantee you're going to get more work by working with Brunton Media. I can't. It's impossible. What I can guarantee is you're going to up your visibility and you'll get more awareness around what you do. That I can guarantee, because these are they're metrics I can control. They're metrics I can push in one direction or the other, however we're doing a strategy. In that respect, they're things I can control. I can't control whether those people choose to buy from you there and then, because a lot of business, as I'm sure Lindsay knows, I'm sure anyone who's been in business a long time will know, it's all about timing. You have to be able to be consistent, and that's why consistency is always better, because if you're known as the go-to person for X, Y, or Z, then whenever the person is ready to buy X, Y, or Z, they're then going to be in a position where they're going to come to you because you're the person at the top of their mind in that respect. I mean, that was kind of everything I wanted to cover today, mostly. I mean, thank you ever so much for the time, as I said before. But is there anything that you want to throw in topic-wise? Any questions you want to ask me? Anything that you want to go over specifically before we wrap up?
Well, I think social media is quite an interesting one. So Instagram and Facebook, and that's really something I'm questioning, because in the past I've put myself under huge pressure to post every other day, to keep that visibility up, keep the followers going up. But what I've found is that those people are not clients. They're not buying from me. They're not customers. They don't come to my studio. And so for July, I haven't posted at all. Hasn't made any difference to the number of people coming in the door. It's probably had the opposite effect, actually. But so I'm really going to think seriously about the time that I now invest in all the hours I spent on Canva creating those little squares, and whether it is a good use of my time. I don't know what your perspective on that is.
I mean, to be honest, it really depends on, there's a lot I could talk about here, but a really simple answer is it depends on who your client avatar is and understanding where your client avatar hangs out, but then also how to connect with them and is it the right kind of content. Because there's a misconception a lot in marketing from what I've found, that is every single marketing person in the world will tell you need to write a load of stuff and put it out online. You need to be visible, you need to be this. The problem is with that is you need to actually sprinkle it with a lot of other stuff and be very visual, because most people, in my experience, don't read large captions. They just don't read them. They will skim read them at most. So the issue comes, and I'm going to say this as a video marketer, I'm going to say this because I'm biased, and I'm going to say this ahead that I'm biased, but the reason why video works so well is two reasons, right? Number one, it's very, very visual and you can instantly connect. Because if you hear someone talking but you don't hear them, you'll be like, oh my God, I want to know what they're saying, right? So you'll instantly go to the unmute button and then you'll be hooked into the video and then you're there for however long, right? But then the other thing is, it's one of those things where you have to mix up what you're doing that isn't in your competition. Because if your competition is just posting a small wall of text or a large wall of text with an image from Canva, well, how are you standing yourself apart from other people who do what you do or other people who, etc.? By doing video, if you're one of the first in your industry to do video or do video a different way, you're going to engage more people, right? So firstly, it's, in answer to your initial question, is firstly, where are you putting the content? Firstly, right? And that's understanding where your ideal customer is going to hang out digitally, right? And the only way you know that is by putting a load of stuff on a load of different platforms and see what happens and see what sticks to the wall. And then secondly, it's about doing something different. Now, that doesn't necessarily have to be video. I can only talk about video because that's what I know. But it could be you do, I don't know, images better than someone else, or you do little live streams, or you know, whatever it is, you need to think about what's your unique selling point here from a marketing standpoint. Why should I listen to Lindsay over listening to someone else who does the identical thing next door? That's the main thing, and it's I'd be interested to hear about, if you, in 6 months, for example, you say, and it's also about time management and money management as well, right? Like, why in theory should you pay me to do a video for you when you can do a video? Because we can do it faster than you can. That's simple as that, because we're the experts in it. So you save time by doing it, right? Number one. Number two, also, sometimes the marketing strategy you're currently using doesn't work. Okay, that's fine. So either find out what works for you. So that might be, for Lindsay's case, just talking to her clients and understanding more about what her clients are doing and how they work and what they enjoy about the service that she offers, and etc. And then going to a networking meeting and talking about that. That might be the best use of your time right now for you to get more work, right? That's a strategy. Another strategy is have the conversations with your clients, do the research, do ask them what they would connect with, what they would, be appealing to, and then just create that. If they say, oh, we would love to hear tips and tricks about XYZ, explaining the color wheel, talking about yellow and blue tones, etc., etc., so on. We could sit here and theorize forever, but until you do the market research and also look at what other people in your industry are doing. Don't copy them, carbon copy. Don't go, oh, that looks cool, I'm going to do that. No, do that, but then emulate and change it and tweak it to your style, to you, to do what you do. Because at the end of the day, as a service provider, which is what we both are, people buy into us as people because we are the product. I am the product in that respect. So people buy into me. So what they do, and then what they always try to do, and what we try to do in marketing is we try to make your customer the hero to an extent, but also you the hero to be the person who can serve that customer. Because the reason why is not just because we profit off it. Partly it is, of course, but also it's because we are going to serve that client better, in our opinion, than our competition. That's the main reason. We will be able to do the job better than the other person who they're looking at, or the other people, or we believe, or our perception is that we would do it better. So that's why we are trying to obtain or work with that client or that person. I mean, does that help? I don't know whether that answers your question, but hopefully it did. Because marketing's not easy, and that's one of the things that people need to understand. It's not easy, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort, and that's why there is marketing groups, marketing companies, and marketing teams, and that's why the biggest brands in the world have huge levels of manpower running their marketing campaigns, because it takes huge amounts of manpower to run a campaign correctly, and to be able to get the results which you're looking for as well, which is the key there, which is the results. The results don't come by magic. They come by research and trial and error, and then finding the golden, what we call the golden ad, or the golden strategy that works, right? And then we roll that out. Now, that's not going to be a golden strategy forever, because you can only mine a certain amount of gold in one mine. You mine out that gold from that mine, but then you still need to find another mine with more gold in it, because eventually the mine you're using will run out of gold. It's the same with a strategy. It's the same with an ad. It's the same with content, because people will go, I've seen this, and then tune off. Especially if you're reusing videos and reusing content and reusing images. And that's why having fresh new images or fresh new video or content or whatever it is that you're doing is really, really important, because you need to keep it fresh. Because otherwise I call it content fatigue, because people are going to look at it and go, I've seen this, I've connected with this. And it might be that it's edited in a completely different context, or it might be that the text is completely different, but it doesn't matter, because visually it's the same. A lot of what I was just working with a client a couple of days ago, and we were talking about how we're going to change visually the videos, because we only have so much space to shoot in. So I was like, there's only so much we can do to change this area of her space. So it was like, well, what other space could we utilize to create content so it has a visual change in that respect, So that's, again, it's about visual change and then audio value change as well. And, I could talk more and more about this, but there's a lot of nuances that people don't necessarily appreciate. But for those people who would be interested in, having a conversation with you, just seeing a little bit more about what you do, where's best for people to reach out to you to do that?
Well, you can find me on Facebook, House of Colour Salisbury. You can find me on Instagram as Salisbury Personal Stylist, or just Google my business. You can find me as well, House of Colour Salisbury.
Fantastic.
So,
any final thoughts? Any final things you want to mention?
Well, I think what I've discovered with marketing is that I need to think about how I'm going to attract the new customers and clients, how I'm going to keep my current clients repeat buying from me, and how I'm going to sell new services. So sell them something different as well. And when I really think about those three areas, that helps me to hone in who I'm marketing to and what I want back from it.
Absolutely.
So, that might be helpful to somebody listening, hopefully.
No, absolutely. I completely agree. And I think, just a very, very final thought. Focus, if you only have like 5 customers, focus on those 5. Do a very, very good job for those 5, and those 5 will give you 10. Those 10 will then become 20, and so on and so on and so on and so on. That's what I've seen happen. That's what I watch happen with other businesses, and that's why I think people sometimes have this inherent want to get new clients and get new people in, when actually they haven't necessarily put as much effort or the same amount of effort into actually making sure that the clients they have are looked after, are as much. It's not even their fault, it's just something that you would naturally do, but it's a conscious effort of, you need to go out of your way to look after your clients if you want them to stay with you, because there's a lot of choice in anything. And it's down to you to make sure that you're providing the best service you can for your client, to make sure that you are showcasing and being the right person for them. But thank you ever so much. It's wonderful talking to you.
Very wise words. Thank you, Colton. I've enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for joining me again, ladies and gents. I hope you did enjoy that episode and took some value from it. I really, really appreciate you coming back and joining us once again for this podcast interview. And I'm very, very excited to say that there'll be more exciting episodes coming in the next couple of weeks as well. So thank you so much for joining me once again. And if you would like to be notified whenever those new episodes do go live, then make sure to be subscribed to the channel. And I'll see you very, very soon.